Good morning, class. How are you today? I hope you are well and good right now. I am Nikki Vanessa Amshuting, your teacher for Introduction of World Religions and Belief System. Welcome to our fourth quarter, week 5. Today, we will be discussing about the Mahayana Buddhism. We have heard the learning competency, explain the uniqueness and similarities of Mahayana and Theravada Buddhism. Who is the founder of Buddhism? The Buddhist tradition is founded on and inspired by the teaching of Siddhartha Gautama. He was called the Buddha and lived in the 4th and 5th century BC in India. Mahayana, one of the two major traditions in Buddhism, now practiced in a variety of forms, especially in China, Tibet, Japan, and Korea. The tradition emerged around the 21st century AD and is typically concerned with altruistically oriented spiritual practice as embodied in the ideal of Bodhisattva. Mahayana Buddhism is a primary form of Buddhist in North Asia and the Far East, including the China, Japan, Korea, Tibet of Mongolia, and is thus sometimes known as Northern Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism. According to the teaching of Mahayana traditions, Mahayana also refers to the path of Bodhisattva, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, also called Bodhisattva or the Bodhisattva vehicle. 6. Perfection of Mahayana Buddhism. Perfection of giving, perfection of behavior and discipline, perfection of forbearance, perfection of vigor and diligence, perfection of meditation, perfect and transcendent wisdom. Mahayana Buddhism. Samyakams Buddha, fully enlightened Buddha, who has accomplished this goal. A Samyak Buddha can establish the Dharma and lead disciples to enlighten. Origin of Buddhism. The origin of Mahayana Buddhism remains obscure. The date and location of the tradition emerged unknown, and the movement most likely took shape over time and in multiple places. The proper appraisal of the early Mahayana is even further complicated by the fact that most reconstructions that have been heavily influenced by the agendas of modern sectarian movements, and that this scripture most valued by latter groups are not necessarily the texts that best represent the movement of its formative period. The earliest sources for the tradition are the Mahayana Sutras, scripture that were first compiled some 4 centuries after Buddha's death. As an earlier canonical Buddhist literature, this scripture almost certainly written by monks present the movement's innovative ideas in the form of sermons said to have been delivered by Buddha, Shakyamuni, and Siddhartha Gautama is known. The earliest Western view of Mahayana assumed that it existed as a separate school in competition with so-called Hinaya schools. The earliest Mahayana texts often depict strict adherence to the path of Bodhisattva, the engagement in the ascetic ideal of monastic life in wilderness, akin to ideas expressed in Rhinoceros Sutra. The earliest evidence of Mahayana comes from sutras originating around the beginning of Common Era. John Yathier has noted that in some of the earliest Mahayana texts such as Ogra Perkapra Sutra use the term Mahayana, yet there is no doctrinal difference between Mahayana in this context and the early schools, that Mahayana referred rather to the rigorous elimination, and Gautama Buddha in Japan of Buddha Sapta seeking to become a fully enlightened Buddha. Doctrines. Mahayana Buddhists speak to the three turnings of Dharma wheel. The first turning was the teaching of the Four Noble Truths by Shakyamuni Buddha, which was beginning of Buddhism. The second turning was the doctrine of Sunyata, of emptiness, which is the cornerstone of Mahayana. This doctrine was expounded of Prajnaparamita Sutras, the earliest which of them dated to the 1st century BCE. Fully developed this doctrine in his philosophy of Madhyamaka. The third turning was the Tathagarbha doctrine of Buddha nature, which emerged in about the 3rd century CE. This is another cornerstone of Mahayana. Yogacara philosophy that originally developed in the Stavara school called Sarvastivada was another milestone in Mahayana story. The founders of Yogacara originally were Sarvastivada scholars who lived in the 4th century CE and who came into embrace Mahayana. Over the years, Mahayana subdivided into more schools with divergent practices and doctrines. This spread from India to China and Tibet, then to Korea to Japan. Today, Mahayana is the dominant form of Buddhism in those countries. Teaching. The Mahayana doctrine is Trikaya says that each Buddha has three brothers. These are called Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, where simply Dharmakaya, this is body of the absolute truth, and Sambhogakaya is the body that experienced the bliss of enlightenment, and Nirmakayana is the body that manifests in the world. Another way to understand the third Kaya is to think of the Dharmanakaya as the absolute nature of all beings, Sambhogakaya as a blissful experience of enlightenment, and Nirmanakaya as a Buddha in human form. Dharmakaya means truth body. The Nirmanakayana is the absolute, the unity of all things and beings, all phenomena unmanifested. The Dharmakaya is beyond existence or non-existence, the beyond concept. The late Kogyam Trungpa called the Dharmakaya the base of original unbornness. In Mahayana, Buddhist figures and sacred objects lean towards esoteric and symbolic meaning. The mudras are the series of symbolic hand gesture describing the action of the character represented in only the most interesting Buddhist art. Many images also function as mandalas. A mandala is a spiritual or ritual symbol in India's religion representing the universe. In common use, mandala has become a generic term for any diagram, chart, or geometric pattern that represents the cosmos metaphysically or symbolically or microcosm of the universe. Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhists are frequently make use of a particular set of 8 auspicious symbols in domestic and public art. These symbols have spread with Buddhism to the art of many cultures, including Indian, Tibetan, Nepalese, and Chinese art. So these symbols are lotus flower, so it representing purity and enlightenment, endless knot or the mandala representing eternal harmony, and then golden fish pair representing conjugal happiness and freedom, and victory banner representing a victorious battle, and wheel of dharma or chamaru in Nepali Buddhism representing knowledge, and treasure vase representing an suitable treasure and wealth, and then parasol representing the crown and protection from the elements, and a coat shell representing the thoughts of Buddha. In Zen Buddhism, a widely used symbol in a senior circle, other Vajrayana symbols include the word Vajra, Nekanta, the snow lion, the wine horses, or Vajakra Mandalas at the number 108 of the Buddha commonly seen in the Nepalese stupas such as the Bodhanath Stupa. Okay, that's all. Any questions? Additions? If you don't have any questions, please proceed or open your learning path to answer your activity at www.guidesf.com or contact or call me at 0926-2974685. Thank you and God bless.